Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the feature news for 8th of November 2021. The feature news for today is on MNREGA. So what is this feature news about today? This feature news is on issues of funding of Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, right? Now, before we move ahead, I would like to wish good evening to Netra, Khushbu, good evening both of you, good evening to Fern Worker and good evening Anil. How are you people? It's good to have you people as well in the conversation. Nice. I hope to see you in the Gazette videos as well now on, right? All right. So, this featured news today is on a very important topic in the rural countryside, right? This scheme has helped tide the tough times during the COVID times as well, because this scheme itself, Monrega scheme itself, was a big indicator of the kind of rural distress in the country during COVID times. During the time of distress migration, there were increased number of demands of job through Monrega in rural areas. And now the fund that was allocated by the government, the next year it has decreased. The government had allocated a decent amount of 1,10,000 crore rupees during the COVID year, and now the fund has decreased. Allotment itself was decreased, and because of this, the states are under stress to be able to pay the rural workers. So you can look at this image very clearly. Very clearly, you can find this image showing the states which have already made all the payments, right? So 100% of the Monrega payments used are in black color. See, all the states here on the west, south, east, the states in red, light and deep red are the states which have made 80 to 100% payments. You can see all these states here, right? Uttar Pradesh has made 97% of payments already under Monrega. Where will the extra funds come from? See, Monrega schemes allocates 60% of the funds to be given to the people who are doing the manual work, and 40% of the fund for asset creation, right? For example, if we are creating a village resource center, so the infrastructure of it will be funded by Monrega, 40% of the payments to be done through this. If a pond has to be constructed or a watershed has to be constructed, 40% funds for this, right? And 60% funds to the people. Imagine from where will this fund come from? The whole project will get stalled, at least for a couple of days, a couple of months, so that emergency fund could later be released, right? So this is the situation during these times. Since this scheme is an indicator of rural distress, why not fund it adequately? So this kind of news, it will remain in the market for a while, because this is an important scheme which feeds the people, right? So let us quickly understand background to MNREGA scheme, right? So this is a job guarantee scheme in rural areas for unskilled laborer, at least 100 days of employment to those people who are demanding this job. In case they demand the job and they do not get it for next 15 days, half of the payment will be given to them by the government. Although these payments are restricted and there's a lot of corruption also happening, and for the same reason, government has automated the whole process. So earlier, while this project was funded, the payments were made by cash, right? Hand to hand. But slowly and steadily, government said, let us introduce an automated mechanism through which the person will receive the complete payment in their bank account. But through automation comes digitization. Through digitization comes errors. It also brings in a lot of discrepancies of data. So whether the Aadhaar data matches with the person's bank account or not, whether it matches with some of the other biometrics or not, these are the issues in question, right? So let us quickly understand a background to this MNREGS. So this is given to all adult members of a household who are willing to do the unskilled manual work, right? Who are demanded for employment in rural areas. And at least 1/3 of the women, 1/3 should be women. At least 1/3 persons who are employed under MNREGS should be women. This is important, right? Now, what is the power for Gram Sabha? The Gram Sabha has got greater powers under it, because Gram Sabha is the one which chiefly decides what project will be initiated in that Gram Panchayat and what will not be initiated, right? So this is one. Now the person has to apply and register and get a job card, right? Along with that, one more thing that I had mentioned was 60-40 ratio. So 60% of the amount that was allocated will be allotted to payment of wages, and 40% will be allocated to the project itself. And a decent amount of these projects have to go for asset creation, especially the water reserve facilities. This becomes another important part of the Monrega scheme, right? Job guarantee, it provides job guarantee to the people, because if people demand job and they do not get it for next 15 days, the government will be paying half that amount of salary to them, right? So this is what a quick update of Monrega, background to Monrega is, okay? Are you guys with me? So this is a quick background to Monrega. Now, moving ahead, what is the current challenge that Monrega is facing? The first important challenge that it is facing is inadequate allocation and repeated payment delays. See, the delay in payment is not only for now, it has been existing for quite a while. Earlier, the payment of delay is, okay, Manjunath has a question. Is there any age limit for Monrega worker? No, one household can ask for it. Adult household, adult, not a child, adult household can ask for work, right? And they will be allocated this work. So they should not be a child. This is the important thing here, right? Okay, so the first is inadequate allocation and repeated payment delays. See, there was a time when just recently Monrega was in news because the government also had a caste-based payment system, and this also came in news just a week back that the government has abolished this caste system in payments. So SCs, STs and all others, right? There would be three categories in which payment would be made, right? And so they would be given, SC and ST community will be given priority payments, and others community will also be given payment, but there will be different heads in which payments will be made, right? So that all the communities receive the payments on time. But it was happening such that these two communities, SC and STs, were receiving payments, and there was an inordinate delay in the payment of other communities, all the other communities. And therefore, there was a social disharmony, because in the same village, if people are residing, some communities are getting payment a little early and others are not. So this was a social disharmony, and the inordinate delays were there. And that is why the government has just 7 days back abolished this scheme of payments, right? So the payment will be done through a collective fund itself, right? Now, if you note this part of the feature article, see, it clearly says that last year the government allocated 1.11 lakh crores, and this year the allocation was just 73,000 crores. You can very well see the demand is there. All the people have not moved back to urban areas. They're still looking for employment in rural areas, and there is no fund. If there is no fund, how will the government be able to initiate these kind of employment generating schemes, right? So everybody is in distress. Not only the state government, it is also causing distress for local asset creation and for the daily wage laborers, right? Okay, so it says that there is a digital divide as well. Now, as we have this new system, as I explained, the new system which the government initiated so that there be less corruption, the automated system, there is a malfunction in the National Electronic Fund Management System, because all the villages are not well acclimatized with this system. Even the people who are authorizing these payments are not acclimatized. Mapping of Aadhaar numbers with the bank account with that person, we are talking of Jam Trinity also, that this has not happened efficiently, right? So in these cases, who is penalized? Effectively, the payment does not get delivered in person's account, and the worker is penalized for administrative issues, administrative lapses, right? And also, when they have to go to the banks to fetch their money, it is not once. They might have to go several times to the bank to take their money. In fact, the bank is also overburdened because of these kind of issues. There is excessive centralization and weak local governance. See, we are not talking of the Gram Panchayat administration. We are talking of the funding ability, right? Now, since the center, see, let's come to the basic issue. The central government is sending the funds to state government, and the state government is giving the funds to local bodies, and then local bodies are paying this to the individual workers. Why is it not that the state and the local bodies itself are empowered to collect taxes? Why is the central government authorizing these kind of pays? So we are talking of federal issues here. See, this point is not mentioned here, but it should come to your mind automatically. So that is why you got to keep a brain which is completely free, and you can also put in ideas, no? You can put in your ideas in case there is some missing here, right? Okay. But even then, out of these compulsions, the government is still hell-bent on continuing MNREGA scheme. Why? Because it is one of the flagship schemes in the rural areas for providing employment to unskilled laborer. Remember this word, unskilled laborer, rural employment, right? Guaranteed employment. So this is a critical scheme for rural areas. The rationale for MNREGA is that it is an important indicator of provision of jobs in rural areas. In fact, there is a demand to have a Monrega-like scheme in urban areas also, urban job guarantee scheme, so that there is no distressed migration, reverse migration from urban areas to rural areas during pandemic times. Okay. So it also provides as a social protection mechanism for the people. Even despite the wage is meager an amount, there is some social protection to the family. At least the family is able to earn 4,000 to 5,000 rupees per month if job guarantee is there, if it is there, right? So one important term is that the person must be provided 100 days, minimum 100 days of employment. They cannot be provided 300 days of employment, but minimum 100 days of employment has to be provided to them, right? So this scheme reaches and benefits, empowers the poor, right? Use these key terms, right? And especially for the women and the marginalized section. See, the women account for around 50% on average of this Monrega payments, and this is very good for the village life, right? For empowerment of females, right? So not only that, now all these projects are getting geotagged. That means if there is a pond getting created, a pond infrastructure getting created, it can be, the photographs can be clicked and it can be put online, so that supervision of the work also happens. The whole work becomes very transparent, its accountability is set, and this is how efficient infrastructure also gets created. So this is how people will also be able to audit and inspect the progress of the work, right? So people audit and people audit of the work also happens. So you can use this as an important parameter for development of village infrastructure, right? A great scheme all in all, right? Okay, moving ahead, it boosts the economy during crisis. We cannot miss out on this point. You can start linking many of the key points with COVID. This happened in pre-exam also. When I went through the question paper in details, I understood that many of the questions had some or the other linkage with what happened in COVID. In COVID times. In COVID times, some initiative happened and there was a tweak. There was a tweak in particular scheme, and therefore the question, right? In COVID times, there was some issue in the economy, and therefore the question was asked. So similarly, when you look at any question from the mains perspective, you should also see how COVID has impacted it. So COVID has impacted this scheme in a manner that the scheme wanted more funds, right? It boosted the economy during the crisis. It reduced distressed migration, right? So now people who are in rural areas, since they are getting employed here, why will they want to move back to urban areas again, right? So this becomes an important indicator of provision of jobs in rural areas, right? Monrega employment, if there is more demand, that means there is some level of stress in urban areas also. It indicates very clearly. That is why people do not want to move to urban areas, or maybe some of them have moved and then come back to rural areas to be able to understand that rural employment was mandatory, was the need for them, right? So what can be done? What can be done? We have been discussing about the funds. So the first thing is we have to ensure that payment mechanism is streamlined, whether it is offline or online. It has to be streamlined. Whether it is based between communities or it is in a collective fund, it has to be streamlined, right? We also have to have Monrega kind of scheme for the urban poor. There has been a huge demand in urban areas as well, right? And then we must have effective supervision of work and assets. See, this is where you will be giving examples. Geotagging, right? People audit, Gram Panchayat audit. So these are the examples that you should be giving of these projects, right? So this is what the conclusion also mentions, that a scheme like this is an indicator of economy in the rural areas. And therefore, this scheme becomes very important. And if finances are decreasing for a scheme like this, this is not a very good thing. So let me encapsulate what we have covered right now. We covered a brief background of MNREGAs, right? This also becomes important. Whenever you write an answer, a one statement background must be given. So one statement background out of all that, right? 100-day employment, rural areas, adult, right? Unskilled laborer, right? All that has to be put here. Along with that, we also understood what was the necessity for Monrega scheme during the pandemic times. So I'll put a P here, pandemic times. What are the issues that people are grappling with in Monrega? So funds, right? Then automation, then payment delays. Not only that, ineffective infrastructure audits, right? And then what is still the compulsion because of which, Monrega becomes an important scheme in the rural areas. And then after that, a conclusion with wisdom. A conclusion with wisdom is give them payments on time, ensure that the scheme runs in urban areas also, ensure that there's proper audit also. So this is how you can encapsulate the complete answer in 5 or 6 different points. And this is how I want you to prepare notes. I don't want you to prepare notes in a streamlined manner. So now put 3 points here, put a couple of points at these places, and also introduce examples. And when the exam question comes, the question might not ask the theme in totality. It might ask only recommendations. So we are talking about what are the reasons because of which it is still running. So the question might be only about this. So how will you answer? You will answer by a quick introduction and get into compulsion, and then later some wisdom for the answer. So this is your answer largely, right? If the question is about what are the issues dealing with it, so introduction, wisdom, and what are the issues. So G is for grappling, how people were grappling. So this will be the answer. You will be able to play with the answer provided you have the content, right? And provided you read the question well. And that is why I want you to start exercising your brain, right? So the question here states, discuss why MNREGA remains relevant despite the various challenges it faces. See, so why it remains relevant is one keyword, despite the challenges. So we will talk about a couple of few challenges here. This is the first part, and why it remains relevant becomes the second part of the answer. And then with the wisdom, you will conclude the answer. So this is how the topic gets completed. And if you like this initiative, if you like this video, all I would like you to do is put some thumbs up, comments, and if you subscribe to the channel, you will receive updates about the live sessions on these kind of interesting videos. We will meet again tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. for the feature for the Gazette news discussion, current affairs and Gazette discussion, and 6:45 for the feature news discussion, right? Amlan says, but working days is less than 100. Yes, minimum 100 days of employment should be given to people, right? All right, 100 days of guaranteed employment. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Bhabani. Thank you, friends. I would like to see you tomorrow, and I would also like you to keep yourself updated regarding the current affairs. Be with us, be a part of it, and we will daily cover Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We will cover this again live 6 p.m. For the Gazette and 6:45 for the feature news. Thank you, each of you. Bye-bye.